Okay, exercise 3. This is creating a perspective grid to become a guide for when you're creating something in perspective that is, somewhat complicated with a lot of elements, such as the playground design. So with this sheet, the exercise sheet, I moved the horizon line pretty far up to the top of the page, so this should create more of a bird's eye overhead view, and so that should give a lot of space to create the grid. And you can start with, probably the easiest way to do this is to start with the back edge of the grid and make this an even number, a whole number, which will make it much easier to measure out the vanishing lines that you're going to use in the middle of the grid. So I'll make it, I could make it as big as 10 inches, but I think I'm going to make it 8. Make it 8 inches across, so I'm going to do a horizontal line there. And then I'm going to create the sides of the grid, and these are going to be vanishing lines. So you're going to line up the ruler, vanishing point, create a vanishing line like that. This won't go all the way to the vanishing point because that would be an extremely long piece of land, and we're just creating more of like a park, like a city park or a city block amount of space here. So you want to have your vanishing lines go to about there, and then create a horizontal line at the back edge of the area, like that. So that becomes the space that the grid will then fit into. All right, so then go back to this bottom edge, and because we made it an even number, it's going to be really easy to divide it up into equal sections by just making tick marks or hash marks along the bottom edge at the inch intervals. So it's just much easier if it's a whole number rather than a fraction, because then the math gets all mathy and then it becomes a pain. So then the next part is to then draw these parallel grid lines by lining up your ruler on the vanishing line, and then line up the other side of the ruler with the tick mark that you made, and then just connect, the dots. I'm making my marks a bit dark, but you should try to keep your guidelines light because you'll be drawing over this grid in the end. So on the video, the lines are pretty dark, but it's better to keep your lines light. And I will speed up this part of the video to make it go a little bit faster. Okay, so now that you got the parallel lines in, now it's time to put the perpendicular horizontal lines in. And the trick to do this is to create a diagonal guideline that goes from corner to corner. It doesn't matter which corners you use as long as you create a line from one corner across to the other corner. And then this becomes the template to help you to lay out the horizontal lines, because even though these horizontal lines are not using the vanishing point, they still have to be realistic in terms of their depth and where they lie in space. And as you'll see, they're going to appear to have more space between them as they get closer to you, the viewer, or to the artist. And so the way that you create these is you line up your ruler on the intersection of the diagonal line with each of the vertical lines that you are, with each of the vanishing lines that you already created. And then you just draw the horizontal line through there. So the diagonal line becomes the guide for proportionally spacing out your perpendicular lines. So as long as you have everything in place, this next step should be pretty easy and go pretty smoothly. And then when you're done, you should have a grid that looks like something like this. And then you can erase the diagonal line because now you are finished with that, with using it. I could, like I said, I could have made it bigger. I made it 8 by 8, just really for time's sake, but I could have done a 10 by 10 grid very easily for more space. And when you get to your actual playground design, you may decide that you need more space or less space, depending on how many elements you have. But this is the end of exercise 3, and then exercise 4 will be to begin to start drawing those playground elements into the grid.